This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Tuesday, 12th March 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. Gunmen in uniform resembling police tactical wear shot and killed 4 gardeners in a camp in Mayaro in the early hours of Monday morning. Homicide detectives were told that the killers shouted police, police, before opening fire on the 4 men. The 4 victims resided in Couva, but were in the camp on agricultural lands on Basil Trace in Bristol. Police ID'd the deceased men as Buddy George, 59, a contractor and a gardener of Martha Street. The gardeners, Jeremiah George, 20, Marcus Buddy, 37, and Dion Keon Mendoza, 29. Crime scene investigators retrieved 2 spent 9mm shell casings and 6 spent 5.56 casings. A police report stated that around 12:30 a.m. the victims and other persons were asleep in a camp approximately half a mile off the end of Basil Street, Bristol Village in Mayaro, when they were awakened by shouts of police, police. 6 men dressed in police operational wear, all armed with firearms, approached the group in the camp. They instructed the men to lie face down on the ground and shot them. The killers ran off and escaped in the forested areas. Sergeant Ram Sahai and PC Gilad of the Homicide Bureau Region 2 are investigating. Neither National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines nor former National Security Minister Stuart Young will appear before the Joint Select Committee on National Security to answer questions on the shakeup at the strategic services agencies. This comes after the JSC held a virtual meeting yesterday, Monday, and voted down a proposal request by 2 of its members to delve further into the issues at the SSA. On March 5th, Member of Parliament for Urpooch East Dr. Wendell Monilal and Opposition Senator Jayanti Lakshmi sent a joint letter to JSC Chairman Keith Scotland requesting an urgent meeting to deal with the SSA Director Major Best sudden removal. JSC Scotland said the committee met to review the request and subsequently received a majority vote declining the said request. He said the committee believes it would be premature to have a JSC on the issue at this time. The United National Congress is ready for general elections and will close nominations by mid-April and start screening in May. So says UNC leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who urged smaller parties to fight the PNM and not each other. Persad-Bissessar said, quote, "The time has come for brethren to stop fighting brethren. We have one common enemy, this government." Persad-Bissessar added at Monday night's UNC Cottage meeting in Pointe-a-Pierre last evening. Members of the Progressive Empowerment Party, led by Philip Alexander, attended the meeting. A positive medium-term outlook for Trinidad and Tobago. This concluding statement in the recent IMF 2024 Article 4 mission to Trinidad and Tobago. The IMF's visit to TNT occurred between February 28th, 2024 and March 8th, 2024. The mission met with a number of stakeholders, government departments, private sector organizations, and state institutions, and comprehensively analyzed detailed economic data on TNT. Construction of the new corporate headquarters of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services will cost taxpayers $144,874,125. It will be located at Victoria Avenue and Tragree Road in Port of Spain, previously the site which located government printry. 2 years is the timeline for the completion of the project, and the ceremonial turning of the sod took place yesterday. Drivers and pedestrians are being urged to exercise caution and alertness on the nation's roadways. According to the Traffic and Highway Patrol Branch Roadway Surveillance Unit, over the past 6 weeks, 10 pedestrian deaths have occurred, accounting for 49% of this year's road traffic deaths. Those pedestrian deaths are evenly distributed, with half occurring on both highways and main roads. Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness has underscored the importance of the relationship between Jamaica and the United States. Holness and U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken are now leading their delegations in bilateral discussions. For his part, Blinken noted he'd visited Jamaica before, but not in his present capacity. He said the U.S. values the ties with Jamaica and the relationship between the two countries. Staying in the region, Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry has tendered his resignation amid a call for calm as the country descends into chaos. The 74-year-old announced he would step aside on Monday following an emergency meeting of regional leaders. Haiti has been plagued by spiraling violence in the past weeks as armed gangs have taken control and calling for Henry to go. RA, who has led Haiti's unelected since 2021 assassination of its late president, spoke via a video address. He said, "The government that I am leading will resign immediately after the installation of a transition council." Henry said, "I'm asking Haitians to remain calm and do everything they can for peace and stability to come back as fast as possible." The Haitian leader is currently stranded in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico after being prevented by the threat from gangs from returning home. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Good morning, neighbors. How you doing? It is the 12th day of March. Good morning to you. You know what that means? It's 9 days to SEA exams. It is also the start, the month of Ramadan as well. So good morning to you all. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show. Of course, on the show this morning, it's the R twins. We just heard from Super Paul, Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. We got Ruben in the mix. Shane is on some R&R. My name is Steve Khan. It is 24 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 25 at Crown Point. No accidents ready to tell you about. But yesterday had a lot of accidents on our nation's roads. Please take your time. All right. And before I do that, let me say good morning. Go down to Super Paul.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and beyond.
Yeah, good morning to you, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good. Check your phone.
Oh, yeah, 1. I checked it. 1. What did he send me here? Oh, my goodness. The alignment at Wendell, too much. What's this? Oh. That means I have to do a juggling act here. Alrighty. Okay, I'll make that call after 7. Too early now. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Let's see who sent us hellos first thing this morning. DJ Ray out in Tampa. Good morning. Oliver Man Warren. Good morning to Marcia Rock out in Orlando. How you do? Garcilia, Valencia, Doreen Pierre, Wendy Ann James, Boy Bedesi from Davie. You can bring up some barfi, you can bring up some doubles, aloo pies, Sahina. Yeah, make that trip there, boy. CJ New York, good morning. Sasha out in London, Wayne B in Covenant, Georgia, Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida, Trini in Boston, good morning. Ooh, that's an international crew right there. Ewart Ratchball, good morning. The Great, Brenda Isaac, Evans David, Josie Richardson, Showin Kerr, Adrian Couto, Paula Richards, no relations to Paul Richards, Yolanda.
I don't know. We can be related.
You never know, 6 degrees of separation. Herda Wells, Gloria Gray, good morning to you. Let me just check my WhatsApp. GNC Auto Security, how you do? Dan Raj in Central, Sankofa, good morning. Let's see, who is this one here? I don't know this one. Teresa Duff, good morning. What is Teresa? Oh, your plant is taking its time to grow, but it's alive. It's alive. It looks really nice, though. Thank you so much, Teresa. I keep telling people about you. It should be very nice for Christmas time this year, wouldn't it? Thank you so much, Teresa. Captain Ron, you sent us a message. Okay, got it. Yeah. Boy, but she says, yes, I will. You'll have to put the peppers separate, because the other guys can't eat pepper. Paul is eat pepper. Everybody else, no. No. All
You're
right.
not like pepper.
Yeah.
How can you be a Trini and not like pepper? How? How can you be a Trini and not like pepper? How? How?
I don't know. I'm a pepper mouth, I'll tell you that. I am a pepper mouth.
Me too. Love pepper.
I love pepper. I can't eat food. Well, when my stomach was ill last week, I hardly ate anything. It was more dry food. It was a lot of toast. Tell me, I don't want to see toast again. But on the weekend, I had some food and I had some pepper. And
you know that your computer logged off, Steve. You're aware?
Yeah, battery was low and I didn't. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get the charger.
Your video feed logged off.
Yeah, let me just go and get the charger. I didn't charge it since last week.
That makes a lot of sense. What does he think will happen if you don't charge a computer for a week? Can someone tell him, please, what happens when you don't charge a computer for a week? Can someone kindly advise him in the chat? If you don't charge a computer for a week, what will happen? Anyway, good morning to you.
Yeah, I forgot to pull out the charger this morning. That's all.
Good morning to you all. Good morning. Good morning. Well, what's happening? What's happening in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago? I see, well, just to update you on the JSC held yesterday, where the committee voted, national security that is, not to at this time pursue an inquiry related to the SSA. In a proposal brought by Member of Parliament for Approach East, Dr. Rudal Munilal, and Senator Jayanti Lachmidial, who wanted the committee to invite Minister Hines and Minister Young. Minister Young, in his position as former National Security Minister, both with at one time or another being the line ministry for the SSA. The committee voted not to have it at this time. The committee thought it was premature, given the ongoing audit by retired Brigadier Anthony Philip Spencer. So that happened yesterday.
Okay, you can let me in, Paul. Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you, buddy. See, I didn't get on like Richard.
So the agreement was at this time, while the audit is ongoing, it doesn't make sense to have an inquiry. Let the audit take place first, and then there'll be a possible inquiry, because it's a very important issue. It's something that should attract the attention of the JSC national security, because of the implications to national security, if alone based on the information we're getting in the media at present. You know? That's why I spoke to you yesterday.
Apart from God, I don't know.
That's a very good point. I did speak to God yesterday.
You should.
Spoke to someone who seems to be close to God in some ways.
Richard?
I said close to God.
I give up. Who's that?
I actually spoke to Pastor Ian Albert Ezekiel Brown yesterday.
Oh. Go ahead.
What else you want to know? So, I'm trying to get him on the show later today.
Yeah.
Trying to get him on the show.
Yeah. Mo Gaines was right. He said the pastor. Good morning to Mo Gaines. Okay. So you work your magic. You work your magic there, Paul.
Avril did mean that I couldn't get his number.
All right. We should do a poll. Do you think
you watch me work?
Paul Richards will be able to get Pastor Ian Brown on the program this morning? Yes or no? That's
so,
2 minutes.
It's like you. I don't know.
No, that's Wendell, bro. That's Wendell.
It seems that it's very easy to get one's hands on police uniform or uniform looking like police.
Well, I was just going to go there. Didn't they find 2 uniforms and 2 radios as well? Or
No.
something like that?
Yeah, one of the newspaper reports indicated that about the raid on the pastor's home and or church. But I'm talking about this horrible situation. While we were on here yesterday morning, but actually, much earlier, there was an attack on an agricultural camp in Bristol Village in Mayaro.
Yeah.
Where 6 gunmen, went into an agricultural camp in Mayaro, in a garden. There were 4 men sleeping in the camp. Right? They resided at Couva, but were in Mayaro at this agricultural camp, apparently working at the camp.
Yeah, you could have a garden there.
And they heard the men, or there were shouts heard, police, police. And 6 men dressed in uniforms resembling police tactical wear put the men to lie down, the 4 men to lie face down, and executed them. The papers are saying he shot them, but that's an execution. If you put somebody to lie down on the ground face down with their hands over their heads and you shoot them in their backs, that's an execution. And I'm trying to figure out what would prompt this kind of barbaric behavior. What?
Yeah, we see barbaric.
What would I do? And the fact that and we've said it so many times before on this show, if someone comes to your door dressed in what resembles to be police wear and says, police, open the door, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do?
What are you really supposed to do?
What are you supposed to do?
It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You're sleeping. All of a sudden you hear, police,
what are you supposed to do?
Police, what are you to do?
I honestly don't know what you're supposed to do. Given these kinds of occurrences, I don't know what you're supposed to do. I will tell you, I ain't opening the door.
I call it 999 one time.
I ain't opening the door.
I'm not opening the door.
I am not, and that may be a breach of the law, following the lawful instructions.
Charge me if you want.
But you're going to charge me for that. You got to charge me for that.
I'm calling 999.
And let some, particularly if I don't see a police vehicle outside with blue lights flashing.
Even that I don't trust.
Well, that is a clear indication unless they steal a police car too.
Well, that's a different story.
It's harder for me to believe that a blue and white car with flashing lights outside may not be legitimate police. But if you are in an unmarked car, I am not opening my door. I am not.
Imagine we reach a stage where we can't even trust the authorities.
You can't trust a police uniform to be legitimate police, or what may look like a police uniform, because it seems so easy for criminals to get their hands on police uniforms or something that at least looks close enough to a police uniform to confuse people. It is so disturbing. So they shouted, police, police. The men complied. The men followed the instruction to lie on the ground. And then they shot the 4 men. All dead. No one survived. The deceased men are 59-year-old Buddy George, who is a contractor and gardener. Jeremiah George, seemingly family, 20 years old. I don't know if it's Buddy George's son.
I think one of them is a son, yeah.
Marcus Buddy, 37 years old. And Dion Keon Mendoza, 29. All 4 shot dead. The investigators retrieved 2 spent 9mm shell casings and 6 spent 5.56 casings. This happened at 12:30 a.m. yesterday, when the country is sleeping more than not. I mean, You know, what are you supposed to do if you hear bam, bam, bam on your door?
Remember a couple of years ago, they were renting out police cars for police escort for vehicles.
I just think it's so disturbing. It's so disturbing. What? Mrs. Harris said you can't trust authorities? What? Well, she said, don't say you can't trust authorities. I stand corrected. And that's why I specified people in uniforms. I wouldn't say the authorities. I would say, I don't know that I will trust people in uniforms looking like police with other police guy in front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? She aggressive early in the morning. I don't know.
She's aggressive, right? Too.
She is aggressive, boy.
Mm-hmm. All right. People have a lot of faith in you, Paul. They're saying, yes, you'll be able to get the pastor on the program this morning. They have a lot of faith in you. So do I. We'll see how it goes.
I don't know. The barbaric nature.
Well, you know what, Paul? Boy, if I tell you, show you, if I can't even forward this to you. And speaking of barbaric, you know what? Let me not say a word. I'll tell you when I see you later. It will just upset you. It will totally upset you. Good morning, Central Animal Lover. Oh no! It's nothing what you're thinking for sure.
The report on the baby?
No. Did they ever find the 5 fishermen who went fishing off Cedrus?
I have heard no further reports on that.
That one just boiled down like bhaji in a pot.
But no, well, the men were reported to be in Venezuelan waters, eh?
Right, so we got that.
Okay, so I don't know. There's nothing the Trinidadian authorities can do, or not much they can do when you venture into Venezuelan waters, eh? They're probably in a jail in Venezuela somewhere. Okay,
well,
and you know you're unlikely to hear about them in a hurry.
Paul,
if you're in jail.
I'm getting messages here on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you offline, and I'm going to bring that up. It is.
So why are you mentioning it?
Because I just got it from a few people.
And what is the message?
I cannot confirm, so I'm not going to bring. I'll WhatsApp you now.
The UNC held a cottage meeting in Pointe-a-Pierre last night. As they continue their readiness, Mrs. Pasal-Bissessar indicated that the UNC is ready for general elections and will close nominations in mid-April and start screening candidates for general elections in May. And Mrs. Pasal-Bissessar urged smaller parties to fight the PNM and not each other. She said, open quotations, the time has come for brethren to stop fighting brethren. We have one common enemy, this government. She said, tonight it feels like the election has been called. The Prime Minister said elections will be soon. And the PNM is on election footage. I don't want to see that at all.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
But if it is that, because people just send all kind of thing and say it's thing that is not. So, right? She called on smaller parties to stop fighting each other. Of course, she's referring to the PEP and the NTA here. Philip Alexander and members of his PEP executive attended the UNC meeting in Pointe-a-Pierre. There's a picture of Philip Alexander being greeted by or exchanging words with Mrs. Pasal-Bissessar at the meeting. You know, I don't know if Philip Alexander has amnesia. He has to have amnesia, some sort of amnesia.
Yeah.
Response. Has to. He has to. He has to. Has to have amnesia. Because the things Philip Alexander has said about Mrs. Pasal-Bissessar and the UNC in the past year or two, you know, I don't know.
Politics makes strange bedfellows.
So, I don't know. But I guess the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
So, you know, I saw, and I didn't read the whole article, but I saw a headline in one of the newspapers. I think it's The Guardian with Guy Griffith saying that he will not sell his soul to be in government. Let me see if I can find it. Right, this is it. He won't sell his soul to be in government. He said, while entering government, and this is a Guardian article by Anisto Alves, while entering government may only occur with some types of strategic alliance. NTA leader Guy Griffith says he won't sell his soul since he holds certain principles, and he's seen what happened in 2010 to 2015. And while other parties may have more support, financing, and seats, Griffith said at the end of the day, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Without us, you cannot enter government, but our job is to ensure mutual respect. Now, coming from these overtures by, of course, clearly both Gary Griffith and Philip Alexander to the UNC, you understand? The question is, and I think this could be the question, do you think Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa can unite the NT and the PP under a partnership type of arrangement? They both clearly desire to be part of a government, and they both clearly have acknowledged in one way or another, either directly or indirectly, that it is impossible to, either directly or indirectly by implication, it is impossible for them to get a single seat on their own because of either the size of their parties, the newness of their parties, or their resources. You understand? So clearly, both gentlemen who have declared war on each other in one way or another are seeing the UNC as their only vehicle, or an amalgamation with the UNC as their only vehicle to get into some type of power. So the question is that if we think Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa, who is now clearly saying the small parties need smaller parties just to stop fighting each other and unite against what she described as their common enemy, which is the PNM, can unite them? Do you think she could unite them? I don't know.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Maybe the pastor can unite them. I don't know. It is the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, and anything is possible. For example, I much expect to see Donald Trump, when he becomes the substantive Republican nominee, to invite Nikki Haley to be his running mate. You don't remember I said it here first.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So I don't know. We'll see how it happens, how it unfolds regarding the PP, the NTA, and the UNC. But Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa is clearly trying to bring all parties together in their common quest to unseat the PNM from governance. The PNM has now had 2 consecutive terms, and Dr. Rowley has thrown down the election gauntlet. Good morning, Mr. Ragoobarsingh.
Hi, good morning, guys, and good morning to
Morning,
our listeners,
Richard.
wherever you are. And viewers, I should say.
You just discounted your online wife's assertion that the good morning, CJ, my husband not on all year again, he busy. She doesn't have a clue what's going on with you. Clearly.
No, she knows I'm busy too.
She's holding on by a thread, obviously.
She's quite an aggressive woman, isn't she?
Very aggressive person.
Now, why are you all like that?
Very aggressive.
Because women are assertive does not make them aggressive.
No, assertive is one. She's aggressive.
She's aggressive.
She's assertive.
Oh,
Anyway.
yeah. You can't say anything else. That's right. Okay.
No, you
We
can't.
understand.
So
All right, gentlemen, excuse me, I have to go into the other studio and see.
the major parties are clearly on election footing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa is seemingly trying to bring some of the smaller parties together. I think clearly she said she's given an indication that she's willing to have a kind of partnership again going into 2025. And it will be remain to be seen if she can get Gary Griffith and Philip Alexander to put aside their long-standing vitriolic dislike for each other. We'll see if Mrs. Pasabi says I can't play the peace. But you remember, they both have a common interest in aligning themselves with the UNC, yeah? Because that, as I said just before you came on, they've either directly, as Gary Griffith has done, or indirectly, as Philip Alexander has done, indicated that they know they can't go it alone and they need to join with one of the bigger parties. The PNM has always maintained a solo stance when it comes to elections. So there's no option with the PNM at all. So the only other viable option is, of course, an amalgamation with the UNC. Agree?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But as I said before, the politicians clearly have a partial for amnesia, or the ability to forget conveniently what they said about certain political entities in the most vitriolic manners.
Well, that's why they say politics makes strange bedfellows. It's not a statement or a cliche that's sometimes overused because it's true.
Me and Bill for that.
And the whole idea of amassing a coalition of parties with the sole purpose of defeating the PNM hasn't worked really beyond winning the election so far. I mean,
well, if that is the main objective, you can't say it has been. If that is the main objective.
Well, NER collapsed, and there was a lot of analysis of what went wrong with regard to the NER.
But the PP didn't collapse as a government. The other parties may have left,
but it certainly decimated the one major party that joined with it, which was the COP. The COP left the People's Partnership decimated.
Agreed, but I think that is more on the COP than the UNC. People keep blaming the UNC for that. If as a political party you don't stand up for what you believe in and stand up.
No, well, absolutely, you're correct. And it's the leadership of the COP that allowed itself to become almost a party group of the UNC rather than its own.
I fully agree with that. And people, though the UNC don't understand the UNC acted like the UNC as the dominant party in the coalition. And the COP allowed themselves through what I describe as poor leadership. You understand? And an inability to coalesce as a party because the COP even started in fighting while they were in the coalition.
Yep.
To be destroyed.
Yep. And a lot of COP people eventually migrated back.
Well,
I can't say back to PNM, but they still went to PNM.
And Roberts was COP. And he had some strong words to Winston Duker and Carolyn Prasad Bachan and whoever else because he said he thought they were weak.
Yeah, well, it was Prakash Ramada at one point.
Yeah.
So it became.
I'll say no more.
So because you have had historical examples in the form of NAR and in the form of People's Partnership, and here you have now the beginning of the coalescing of possible coalescing. I'm going to say possible of these interests under the umbrella of the UNC, and they're already in fighting. There's already positions been taken. There are already words been thrown. How is the electorate going to receive that? How are they receiving it? And that third constituency that you talk about, that people talk about, how are they receiving it? Because you all are not distinguishing yourselves from the historical past. You all are, in fact, even more vitriolic from this onset.
A lot of it also has to do with another factor, which sometimes we tend to forget. It is not only the perceived strengths of the coalition in 2010 that came together pretty quickly when Mr. Manning called the election. And Mrs. Pasabi says I was able to get the MSJ, NJAC, COP, TOP in Tobago. And is there somebody else I'm missing? It was 5 parties, right? Or 6? 5. COP, MSJ, TOP, NJAC, and the UNC. I don't think I'm leaving out anyone, right? They came together pretty quickly. But there's another factor that played into that victory for the People's Partnership at that time, and there was a significant amount of discontent with the way the late Patrick Manning was dealing with the allegations of corruption vis-a-vis Calder Hart and all of that. And there was a situation between himself and now Prime Minister Dr. Rowley within the PNM. You understand? That seemingly echoed a kind of fracture within the government, and Mr. Manning did call it an election because in some people's estimation, he thought there was going to be a potential coup d'etat in the House of Representatives in a no confidence vote against him. That is what some of the conversations were at the time, because he called it an election, and the rest is history. So the other factor is if there's enough disaffection within the population, for whatever reason, you understand? In this case, the main issue facing the country is crime and personal security. You understand? So if that factor propels people enough, at that time with Mr. Manning, it was alleged corruption. Mr. Pandey suffered the same fate as allegations of corruption that were not dealt with effectively by the party, by the government. You understand? Yeah. So there's always another factor in addition to what is presented as an option that will sway the swing voters one way or the other, because at the end of the day, the core voters are the core voters, and they will support their party no matter what has been our political history. But those swing constituencies are the ones that look at other factors to decide on whether or not they will cast their vote for either or X or Y in the context of what is happening in the country at the time. Some people may say also it's usually crime, economy, and/or corruption and poor governance. You understand?
Yeah. Well, so economy always factors in. How do I feel about my standard of living and where I am in the world, so to speak? Remember, there's a saying that all politics is local.
Yeah.
So it always comes down to how do you feel? Do I feel safe? Do I feel there's deterioration in where I live? Do I feel my standard of living has dropped or is static? All of those things matter. And
yeah.
And how much of that is going to feed into the politics, because you do have a lot of people disaffected in terms of the economy and how they feel it's not working to the benefit of them.
No one can discount to me that the 21%, as stated in 2014, I think, when a CELAC report came out about the level of poverty, people living under the poverty line in Trinidad and Tobago was 21%, just under 21%. No one can tell me that has not increased based on what I see on a daily basis. No one can tell me that. And a large part of that may have had to do with COVID-19 and that pandemic, and also economic circumstances outside of that. I am sure that the poverty line has increased. So there are more people who are living under the poverty line in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. You understand? And I factor that with increased prices of foodstuff.
Exactly.
Services. So
what you're facing in the supermarket.
What you're facing in the supermarket. You go in the grocery and pick up 10 items and $600, $500, $600. Very, very easily. You say, but that's all I have on the conveyor belt. That is $600. It's like, what? So you ask yourself, how do families make out?
Yeah.
How does a family of 3 or 4 make out?
Mm-hmm.
For the prices of food stuff? How?
Mm-hmm. A single parent.
And another thing that kind of agitates the population is when you see a dwindling middle class in the context of, but them living nice. Why are we suffering? Because there are sections in society that are flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And a large middle class is a more stable country and a buffer from economic reverberations, and a more stable country psychologically, because that means that more people feel secure about their economic and social futures. And the middle class is clearly shrinking in Trinidad and Tobago. So you're seeing a larger cadre of people under the poverty line. You're seeing a cadre of people who are doing very, very well and a much smaller middle ground. And those things are all things that playing to who will win the election and who can convince people to vote for them. As you weren't here yesterday, but we had a long conversation about Pastor Ian Ezekiel Brown. I'm sure you read the newspapers yesterday.
Is that the one was raided?
Yeah, who said he's a spy, Ian Albert Ezekiel Brown, who said he was employed in the SSA as a spy, and he was trained by a German national, and he was part of the mandate was to go after criminality, and a government official, unnamed. I had a conversation with Pastor Brown yesterday, and he's agreed to come on just after 7. I hope he keeps his appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I would caution you, gentlemen, to be careful what you ask to serve. We have very few lawyers on staff. Yeah. Very few lawyers, and lawyers are very expensive. So what he says, the newspapers have the ability, because the Guardian has an expose this morning. The Express had a big expose yesterday. They have the ability to interview someone and redact or edit. We don't in a live interview.
Yeah.
Okay? Word to the wise. So he says he's a spy. And he said, when I spoke to him, I said, I got him through an intermediary, because I asked for the number, and the person said they don't want to give out the number. So I said, but you can give him my number. He called back in 5 minutes. He said, Senator Richards. I said, good morning. Who is this? He said, this is Pastor Brown. I said, good morning, Pastor Brown. How are you? He said, I'm good. I said, we're willing to do an interview tomorrow. He might want to talk plenty.
Oh, well, I mean,
Yeah, me. Okay.
Understand the gentleman in question, he has 11 SIM cards and 7 phones.
Are you willing to do an interview tomorrow morning at 7:10 a.m.? Yes. I'm okay. Looking forward to it.
That should be interesting.
Very.
Oh, you think?
So,
That should be interesting.
whacking for you. We're whacking. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Avril bets me if I can get any number I want. I said, what is the bet? So she has breakfast with me this morning. Good morning, Avril St. Bob. Do you have newspapers?
No, sorry, I don't this morning.
All right, let's roll into the newspapers today.
Yeah,
And my suggested question is, do you think Kamala Prasad-Bissessar can unite Gary Griffith and Philip Alexander? That's my suggested question. Let's start with the Daily Express. Oh, it starts again. For today, Tuesday, the 12th of March, 2024. And the latest article to go online by Alexander Braswell from the Express is 2 men shot dead, police ammo used. This is a disturbing trend.
Mm-hmm.
2 men were killed in separate incidents in Cocorate and Lamington on Sunday night, and the ammo is supposedly police uniform. Anyway, spy pastor shows proof, and the Express has an ID card of Pastor Ian Brown. PC Ian Brown is a member of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Reserve. Date of issue, the 11th of the 3rd, 2021, ID 10702. Right? Top cops hired pastor. Letter shows McDonald, Jacob, Griffith, Christopher all gave Brown SRP status to work at the SSA. So, confirmation of that. Advisor traveled to Israel with agency director. Right? GSC rejects opposition request on SSA. Autopsy, Vicky died from blows to the head and face. Really sad. High-flying SSA pastor. Massacre in Mayaro, 4 killed in land grab location. Man set alight in the family feud. Let's go to the Guardian now. On the Guardian online today, Kamala tells smaller parties to stop fighting each other. PP leader and members attend UNC meeting. Gary says he won't sell his soul to get in the government. Gonzalez hits Mount Diablo area in focus as WASA crackdown continues. Over 1,000 doctors oppose specialist registration changes. Baby died from blunt front force injury, which is such a tragic story. TTPS bullets at Cocorate murder scene. Another disturbing, and this is not the first, second, or third time we're hearing about this. Let's move to the Newsday now online. South Central ahead as music festival champion starts. Father, son, friends killed in Marrow by, and the cops is in parentheses, and the information is that the people were wearing uniforms that resembled police uniforms. National Security JSC rejects request to probe SSA changes. Muslims begin 30 days of prayer and fasting on Tuesday today.
Mm-hmm.
Cops worried over increase in pedestrian deaths. Witness in Kapara murder. I cannot remember. People are afraid for their lives there. 2 Azikoro fishermen freed of drug trafficking charges. And Imber says, IMF says Trinidad and Tobago in sustained recovery. Ministry, thousands being counseled for suicidal thoughts. And Kazim Hussein, good comes on Express, Guardian, and Newsday for today. The 12th of March, 2023. Brown, known as prophetic advisor at SSA, sources say. So those are trending stories in your 3 newspapers for today.
All right. Let's get the results of our morning poll from yesterday, where we asked you, do you believe Pastor Ian Albert Ezekiel Brown was employed in the SSA as a spy? That was our poll yesterday. The results are in. 56%, 56 said yes. And there you go. All right. So let's get into this morning's poll. And I so could answer that poll. Mm-hmm.
So my suggested question is, do you think Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessor can unite the NTA and the PEP for general election in 2025? Is that okay with you?
Yep, let's go with it.
Yeah.
Put it up. There you go.
That's what Zena says all the time, you know.
Oh,
There we go.
Put it up.
I'm not getting involved in that convo.
Just face goes blank.
Yeah.
Our poll this morning. Do you think Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessor can unite the NTA and the PEP for the general election in 2025? What says you? The voting begins now. 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. Send your votes via the messaging platforms on all our streaming platforms, whether it be Insta Live, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And of course, you can also WhatsApp us at 868-318-1021. So there you are. So I can start giving you some of the results. Let me look at some of the results here. Is Beefy Smith the first vote?
Let me double check here. Beefy Smith is our first vote. He says, no way. Keegan Barrett says yes. Wayne B says no to the poll. Richard M. Jeremiah says no. Hope I did justice. John Cato, yes to the poll. Ewart Ratchball, no, she can't. Michael Robinson says no. Let's head out to Grandy. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Sandy Grandy, yes.
Lovely. Thank you. Olua says yes. Kenny and Harlem. Long time, Kenny. I say no to the poll. Thank you, Kenny. Have a great day.
Did you give Richard Jeremiah?
Yep.
Okay.
Michael in London says no, not a chance. Thank you, Michael. I have Jaron J. Joseph saying no to the poll. I've got Alistair Hart saying no. I've got Long Islander saying no. Julia S. Batiste says no. Adrian Cotto says no, no, no. Mrs. R says yes.
Wayne Joseph says no from Ontario, Canada. So our poll this morning, Do you think Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar can unite the NTA and PEP for general elections 2025? Joe Sam says no. Does not think so. Boy Badesi says yes. They all are greedy for power.
Which your transport is active again. It's phasing you out.
Oh, yeah, I can. Yeah,
This is out trying to beat me over.
sort that out.
She's trying to beat me over without your knowledge.
The sound effect is too late.
That's to find it.
Our poll this morning, do you think Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar can unite the NTA and the PP, which means Gary Griffith and Philip Alexander, which we should have put in time for general election 2025?
Well, Finbar Collins says no. And well, he gave an opinion. She could barely have control Gigi and the PP. Do you think she can now? Philip is just a loose cannon. This is what I call bad ingredients for the pot. Wendy and James also says no. Beauty Culture says no to the poll. And good morning to you, Beauty Culture. Well, no, you voted already. Nemesis, hi guys. And Dave Gosain says no. Hi, Nemesis. Oh, good.
All right.
Do you think yesterday, Paul?
You get a what, sorry?
A good cuss out.
From who?
A random person in the street.
Okay. For
no, I was turning off the bus route and turning right to head into Trinity. But as I turned, a guy was crossing with his children. So I stopped politely because he's crossing with children. You stop
it's pedestrian. You have to stop and children.
Yeah, I harassed a guy and his children were crossing. So I stopped politely waiting. But there was another car coming behind me who probably didn't know why I stopped.
And you shouldn't have stopped.
And he was blaring his horn. But you know, sometimes when another car is blaring their horn, it looks as if it's you blaring your horn, but it's not you. So there I am waiting patiently, and he's blaring his horn behind.
Doing your kind deed.
And of course, the guy is looking back at me as if I am being impatient and he's crossing these children. And well, I'll go get it. I was so stunned, I did not know what to reply because there was no explaining because traffic started to move again, and I was like, okay.
Take a cuss and drive.
I got an undeserved cuss out, and I am annoyed. Undeserved.
Right. Josie Richardson says no. Do you think Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar can unite the NTA and PEP for the upcoming general elections in 2025?
Right.
You know,
I messaged Pastor Brown and he says, I told him we'll call you from the landline. And he says, yes, I understand. So we'll try.
All right. So we do have Pastor Brown next hour.
I mean, we're not visually seeing him?
No.
You know, as I said, Trinity, there was an incident. A young man parked in Trinity Mall by the supermarket and heading to his car. He was accosted by two men that bundled him into the car and robbed him and took him some other place and beat him up and all sorts of stuff. I said, wow, Trinity Mall, you all need to do something. I got another no via WhatsApp. We got no name to it. Slick Money Grip says no.
Why we not visually see? I'm working out that. Cool yourself now. Now send a message to yourself if you feel to God. But working on it. Cool yourself there. God.
Let me tell you, Richard, the man crossed one bridge. Do not underestimate Paul. I had a little poll going. Folks,
Steve, don't be so hard yourself. We know you have a little poll going.
Oh, Jesus. And I asked the listeners this morning, do you think Paul will get Pastor Brown on the program this morning? The majority of the listeners said yes. So there you go. Joe Sam, Richard, we still love you. Okay, Joe Sam.
Now he says he's going to try.
All right.
Wow, look thing here.
Yeah. Lorna. Morning, Lorna. Morning, Indy and Carly. Yes, I think so.
Did you give Slick money grip?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
All right. Do you think Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bissessa can unite the NT and PEP for the upcoming general elections come next year? That's our poll. Of course, we'll stay up until tomorrow morning when we give you the final results. All right.
Right, I sent him the video link, so he said he'll see if he can log on.
All right. Okay, I don't know what that is. Nemesis says yes. Thank you. All right, you have 2 minutes to vote. Oops, I didn't set it up. Let me set up the news. Do these different elements to put into the system.
Lennon Roberts says yes.
Do you think Mrs. Bissessa can unite NT and PEP? What says you?
Yeah,
Which
do you
really
think
means for the
Mrs. Kamala
Parliament,
Bissessa can unite the NTA and the PEP for the general elections 2025? That's our poll this morning.
Cascade St. Anne's says no. Thank you. Cascade
Is Wendell joining us for that interview?
I hope he does.
Wendell, you look at log on now. Mogain out in Aruka says yes. All right.
Remember, he happening with construction with the new DP next door.
Say what?
They're building a new DP outlet next to Wendell's house. So.
Yeah, they're doing some construction next door, that empty space of land. Somebody's putting up a structure. Yvette says no. Dr. Nitz says no.
Nemesis went to LA to de-stress. Yeah, you need to relax a little bit, Nemesis.
Even Scipio says no to the poll.
Yeah. I've got another vote here. Burn says, what did Burn say? No. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, that's Central Animal Lover saying no. I have got Captain Ron. Morning, Captain Ron. Where in the world are you? Says no. All right. United Airlines had some serious mishaps last week. Unbelievable. Cheryl Henry, I say no. All right. Folks, Avi wants to say something. Go ahead, Avi.
Good morning. I would like to address something that I heard earlier this morning. It included some erroneous information concerning me that was uttered by the one Dr. Paul Richards.
You mean the senator?
Yes, the senator, the doctor, many other accolades, and certainly a lot of other letters associated with his name, who's been in the news recently for various reasons. And apparently he stated that he and I had some sort of a bet about him getting some phone number, and that if he didn't get the phone number, I would buy breakfast for him.
He did say that.
I would like everyone
He said it to the world.
I would like everyone listening to know that that conversation never happened. I have no idea why Dr. Richards would say that it did. It never happened. In fact, I always tell him I think he could get any number, so I don't know why he said it did. 1 and 2, anybody who knows me and knows my financial background knows that I don't bet. Right? I don't gamble, so I don't bet. And 2, based on my financial background, I couldn't afford breakfast for you, sweetie.
Yeah, we've seen his breakfast.
We've seen his breakfast. He's very luxurious because he's a man that could afford that.
Quite luxurious breakfast.
Yeah, but I can't.
All these bets he make.
I can't. I have no idea. I have no idea what he's speaking of.
It's
So
7:01. News is next.
we ask that you retract your statement, please. Thank you. And I would appreciate a public
That man
apology.
can bump. No wonder he's at the Red House. The Red
I
House bump
would
his
appreciate-
up.
You're the only one. You're the only one, honey.
Oh, God. Hey, because that is
I can't hear
bacchanal.
anything.
Oh,
News is next.
that's what they're saying.
I can't hear any of you. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't set it up for you to hear. All right. Okay. You ready, Evie?
I
You got it
know
off your
that-
chest?
Yes.
Feeling better now?
I wanted the truth out there, so thank you.
Mm,
And Dr. Richards, do better.
pecan.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Pastor Ian Brown says he has proof that he was a spy and has been spying since the 1980s. National Security JSC says it will not probe SSA changes. The UNC says it's ready for general elections. IMR confirms Trinidad and Tobago is undergoing a sustained economic recovery and government taking action to reduce its rental bills. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. Pastor Ian Brown says that he was not an ordinary citizen working in the Strategic Services Agency, but a special reserve police officer who worked closely with past and present police commissioners. And he has proof. He presented evidence by way of an identification card to the media. Brown described himself as a spy and says that he's been spying since the 1980s and received training with Germans and Israelis. He has claimed that he provided intelligence to the Special Anti-Crime Unit under Brigadier Peter Joseph. And under the tenure of former Police Commissioner Gary Griffith, he was brought into the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service as an SRP. He said his covert work continued and a car was rented for him by National Security to perform his intelligence gathering operations. Mr. Brown is courted to be a guest on the Power Breakfast Show this morning. Neither National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines nor former National Security Minister Stuart Young will appear before a joint select committee to answer questions on the shakeup at the Strategic Services Agency. This information comes after the JSC held a virtual meeting yesterday and voted down a proposal requested by two of its members to delve into the issues at the SSA. On March 5th, Member of Parliament for Orapooch East, Dr. Rudal Munilal, and Opposition Senator Jayanti Lachmedial sent a joint letter to JSC Chairman Keith Scotland requesting an urgent meeting to deal with SSA Director Major Roger Best's sudden removal. JSC Keith Scotland said the committee met to review the request and subsequently received a majority vote declining said request. He said the committee believes it would be premature to have a JSC. The United National Congress says it's ready for general elections and will close nominations in mid-April and start screening in May. This is according to UNC leader Kamla Persad-Bissassa, who's urging smaller parties to fight the PNM, not each other. Persad-Bissassa said the time has come for brethren to stop fighting brethren. She said they have one common enemy, and that's the PNM government. She made the comment while speaking at Monday night's UNC Cottage meeting at Pointe-à-Pierre. Members of the Progressive Empowerment Party, led by Philip Alexander, attended the meeting. The PNM has been on election footing, and the UNC will open nominations and screening in April and May. A positive medium-term outlook for Trinidad and Tobago. This is the concluding statement of the recent IMF 2024 Article 4 mission to Trinidad and Tobago. The IMF's visit to Trinidad and Tobago occurred between February 28, 2024 to March 8, 2024. The mission met with a number of stakeholders, government departments, private sector organizations, and state institutions, and comprehensively analyzed detailed economic data on Trinidad and Tobago. Based on these consultations, the IMF has underscored that Trinidad and Tobago's economic outlook is gaining momentum, and for the first time in a decade, our economy is undergoing a gradual and sustained recovery. The IMF has also concluded that the 2024 budget envelope is appropriate to support the domestic recovery and address infrastructure needs. 27 units of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services will be housed at its headquarters when it is completed in the next 2 years. Speaking at the sword turning on Monday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said government is making progress in reducing its rental costs.
This project here today, one ministry, there are 27 units in that ministry that will be housed here. Most of those units are all over the place in rental units. But all 27 units would be on this location in a building owned or to be owned by the state.
He said the way would be made when the new headquarters of the Ministry of Health was completed with the involvement of the private sector support. Dr. Rowley said with the establishment of government campus in Port of Spain, it has gone a long way in bringing down the state's annual rental bill. He said negotiations for the rental of buildings must be done to ensure taxpayers get the best deal.
So what this government has done, I should tell you, when we started out looking at this rental situation, my cabinet colleagues will tell you that I kept telling them, when you go to negotiate or have your department negotiate government rent, negotiate hard. And if you don't get what the government thinks is a reasonable rent, walk away. Because the government is the best user of space in the city. And if they don't get government rent, they have no reasonable expectation of getting a second rent.
Government is assuring the population cabinet members follow standards in place relating to avoidance of conflict of interest concerning the rental of properties to house state ministries or agencies. Prime Minister Rowley said cabinet members are not involved in the decision-making process when it comes to actions in which they may have connections pertaining to property which is rented by the state.
So to the point where some of our ne'er-do-well colleagues in the parliament have convinced you that if a minister of government owns property or his family owns property and that property is rented by the state, when any business comes up before the cabinet to renew the rent or to do whatever, anything to do with it, that minister has to declare his or her interests. That's called recusal. Ministers come from all over to win seat or to be appointed to the parliament. You're not disqualified because your family owns property or because you are a wealthy man.
Dr. Rowley explained what has happened in the cabinet under his watch on the subject.
In fact, most political parties go and look for business people to bring them into the parliament. But once you bring them into the parliament and they give them office, when their matter or matters for the family come before the cabinet, under my government, they are required to recuse themselves. They can't sit on it and make decisions. That if you do that, you're committing a crime. And I see some of you repeating that nonsense. So what is to happen is happening, and you somehow interpreting that as a crime. But what is not supposed to happen, when it happened, they didn't tell you.
You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. A hazardous seas alert yellow level is or has been issued from 2 p.m. today. The alert is coded to start. It will come to an end at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday. Northerly long period swells are expected to affect the coastlines of Trinidad and Tobago. While the effect will not be continuous over the period, the presence of spring tides will amplify the effect, resulting in occasional battering coastal waves, especially during high tides. All marine interests should monitor nearshore or coastal sea conditions and exercise caution along affected areas. Avoid marine activities. Continue to monitor updates from official sites. Well, let's find out what's happening with the weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, mostly sunny and at times breezy conditions despite the brief isolated shower. Generally fair night. Maximum temperatures today are pretty high, 34 degrees Celsius for Piarco International Airport, 32 at Crown Point in Tobago. It is already 26 degrees Celsius at Piarco and 27 at Crown Point. Yesterday was actually the hottest day thus far for 2024. Well, let's go back to our headlines. Pastor Ian Brown says he has proof that he was a spy and has been spying since the 1980s. National Security JSC says it will not probe SSA changes. The UNC says it's ready for general elections. IMR confirms Trinidad and Tobago is undergoing a sustained economic recovery and the government is taking action to reduce its rental bills. I'm Avril Cindy Bob. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102. More news in detail at 12 noon today and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. You can join her again and come at 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right. As Avi said yesterday, it was the hottest day of the year thus far. So, yeah, yesterday was absolutely a scorcher. It was indeed. All right. Traffic-wise, usual spots, you've got it. No light spot, Digo, Maraval, East-West Corridor, San Fernando, you're light. You're going to pick up your traffic from Charlieville, headed towards the interchange. All right. Let me say happy birthday going out to Vaughnet Bigfoot. It's a birthday today, so happy birthday to you, Vaughnet. Hope all is well. All right. So let's get the results of our morning poll. Right. Marval on the road says no. Cheryl Henry says no. And that's it. All right. So quickly, Rich, let's get the results of our morning poll.
All right. So our poll this morning was, do you think Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar can unite the NTA and the PEP for general election 2025? We had 41 people voting on the poll this morning, and of the 41 people voting in the allotted time, 31 of you said no, you do not believe she can unite the NTA and the PEP for the general election 25, whereas 10 of you said yes, you think they can do it. So there, 10 of you said yes, 31 of you said no. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day, through all programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, which will be Wednesday and midweek.
So let's take time to introduce and welcome our guest this morning, the man who is all over the newspapers this morning, Pastor Ian Albert Ezekiel Brown. Pastor Brown, good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi, good morning to you all. Special good morning to the righteous people of this nation from all religions.
With us this morning. How are you this morning?
Sir, I'm alive and well. I had a fee for my house to make sure that I don't have 100 police blocking me from getting involved in this interview this morning, because for a pastor to have approximately 100 police running him down and they wouldn't put 5 to track down a criminal is very, very interesting. So that's what took place on Saturday, and they blew my cover. And that's the reason why I'm going public now. You can't blow my cover and say, in front of my gate, you are thus person, take off your cover, because when I go out on my beat, I go dressed differently. So it's not the face that people will see. If people see my face today who know I interact with them, they will not know this face. They will know a different face altogether. And that has been my way of working, along with 2 other people for the past couple of years. And because of my training, which my boss doesn't know all about, he knows some things, but for what corruption is taking place in national security, he and I and one other person who is at the top of the agency is aware, but everything is being done presently to get me down, so that if that head is down, then they could fire me. He's the only one who could fire me. So to cover up all the breaches, why it is we don't have the fight against crime being something that is being successful, regardless of the millions being pumped into it, there's a reason why. And we have everything on file, and they're trying to remove now all the righteous people in national security who are aware as to what the value of their integrity and their work is involved. The point is this: they started to remove some of them from yesterday. They have a list of people they're going to be removing. Today they're going to continue with that list. And I'm telling you, it's the darkest moment this country has ever faced. And if you all don't do something about it, I can't do anything. What I have determined to do is that if certain people are touched, I'm going with names public with the proof. as to what it is this one has been doing, that one has been doing, and why there are leaks that causes the Commissioner of Police to not be able to do her work. 3 commissioners of police know me personally. This present commissioner, she knows me. I might go to her like Nicodemus at night with files together with the head of the National Security Section. And the point is this. She will say when she gets the files, now who will I give this to? Because the point is this, she can't trust people as well. She has a hard job. I feel for this woman. She has integrity, but my gosh, what could you do when you have snakes and rats all over national security? And I am tasked as a police, yes, as a police officer, sworn to uphold and to protect and serve. I am determined to do what I have been assigned to do as a police officer. So I'm speaking to you all this morning as a police officer. My cover has been exposed. All the neighbors and people who are around came like it was a big sideshow to see what was happening with all these police vehicles.
So you're still employed with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service as an SRP as of today?
Yes, sir. The thing is, they took my uniforms and they took my police ID card and they wanted everything I had in connection with national security as a form of ID to be handed over to them. The warrant that I sent to you all, the copy of the warrant, states clearly that they are there to get illegal arms and ammunition. Since when a police uniform is an illegal arm or ammunition, and the normal police taking it, and here what they're telling me, they are taking it because they had to confirm if I'm really a police officer. But they have my ID, they know my background, they know when I started. So it's just lies after lies after lies. I'm
so
sorry.
Have you been officially told by the police leadership or the police service that you are not employed? So you have not been terminated as an SRP, as you know it?
No, sir. The commissioner knows better, but she has to do her part to allow the investigation to proceed. She's not.
I don't know if you could contextualize it for our listening audience. And when did you start being an SRP? Because you indicated 3 commissioners of police knew you, including the current. Is it that it's your SRP assignment happened under the auspices of a prior commissioner of police?
Well, let's put it this way. There are some things I will not speak about like that, as to which commissioners I used to engage with personally one-on-one. But to answer you is to say, yes, previous commissioner of police, I used to link with directly.
Well, okay, let me more directly. One of the newspapers this morning is reporting that McDonald Jacob, Gary Griffith, and Mrs. Christopher all have knowledge about your tenure as a SRP. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. But I'm also saying another police commissioner of police I used to deal with directly in giving intel. Intel is what they call verified information. It isn't talk. It's not what is called anecdotal information. Anecdotal means hearsay. This is proven, and I work with other police officers to get intel, proven information, have my files, have my documents, have my pictures, and forward it to my boss. And
you mean another police commissioner outside of those 3 that were identified by Dr. Richards?
Okay, who was the previous one? Mr. Williams.
So
I met with him.
About Mr. Williams?
Yes. Okay. Right? He'll be shocked to know that this person who met him at a certain forum, spoke to him about certain things, was asking him for the privilege to use a bus route pass because of what I was doing as well, put me on to speak to his permanent secretary who was there in a meeting. And that's my background with him. As far as anything else I'll tell and say things, it's always based upon my boss telling me it's okay to speak on certain matters. I am that diligent in keeping the instructions given to me by my boss top secret.
Pastor
That's
Brown,
why I'm trusting.
right. You mentioned that your cover is now blown, and that people know
Yes,
about
sir.
you've admitted that you, in your words, you associated with former Commissioner Williams, you've worked with McDonald Jacob, former Commissioner Griffith, and now Mrs. here with Christopher. Your cover is blown. Are you worried about your safety, part one? And two, are there NDAs or confidentiality clauses signed based on what you describe as the nature of your work? And if so, how are you able to speak now on these issues?
Okay, so far I haven't said anything. I haven't signed anything with the police service concerning any clause. I work as a police officer. My duty and my honor to the police service that has a lot of people with integrity, and then you have some scams and rats, obviously. But I uphold the honorable position of a police officer. And it is my duty, I'm duty bound to protect the people and serve. I only spoke because they blew my cover. You can't come to my home, stop me, frisk me down in front of my gate, have about 50 people coming around the neighborhood because there are police vehicles from one end of my corner to the next end of my corner. That's how many vehicles. And watching and listening to all of the conversations, realizing that I was a police officer, I had a hand over my this, I had a hand over my that, and then they proceed to spend 5 hours at my home. Which criminal or crook do they do that within this country?
So Pastor Brown, as a police officer, where would you have been reporting for duty on a daily basis?
That I cannot divulge. Okay, sir? But let's just say 3 places.
You reported for work at three
separate places which I function from. So sometimes they see me in one place and it's my next place, and that's one of the reasons why they call me the ghost who walks.
So there will be people at these 3 locations who can verify what you are saying this morning.
Well, they surely know who I am.
Now, you mentioned a lot of associations with police commissioners, but a lot of this information has come out because of a shake-up at the SSC. Were you employed with the SSC?
The answer is yes. That was my other cover that was blown right in front of my yard. That's why I could say it now, because it was blown. It was exposed. Yes, and he's SSA. Yes, he working so and so. We want your ID for that too.
In what capacity were you employed with the SSC?
Intelligence officer, sir.
So is that where they say, so calling you a spy, is that accurate, or just it is officially an intelligence officer?
Well, I do things a lot to kind of heighten mistakes. All right? Because the point is simple. I gather intelligence based upon my training, and I provide it in a very, very orderly and documented and professional way, sir.
So who are you at the SSC?
Well, again, right? There's some things I can't say. And all you could know is that the person who's my boss, you could take that as high up as you want, is the only person who knows as much as I do. There's one other person that they're trying to remove today. And they intend to remove. And that is a guarantee that the rats in national security remain and run SSA instead. I have the names, I lodged the names in a sealed envelopes by 3 lawyers. So if they kill me, they know they have to reveal these things because they kill me.
Well, I was going to ask you that, are you worried for your safety and your life?
Sir, I'm almost 70 years old. Look at my face. I've served with honor. I live for Jesus Christ, and my integrity is because of Jesus. And that is why they love me so much, because I will do the right thing. I will not lie or compromise with the truth and with the way they want righteousness to stand in the nation. There are few people who they could trust, and that's the truth. I was made to interact with Brigadier Peter Joseph before SORT actually kicked off. And he was the first one I began to give information to. And he used to spend hours in the morning. When he got up, he said, look forward to seeing me because I was the one who was a contractor responsible for the upgrade of his quarters in Macquarie. He knows me personally. So I would visit him, interact with him, talk with him, and brief him. And I continued doing that for years with different people. I'll give you another name.
Pastor Brown, without calling any name, could you identify at least one or two incidents where your intelligence would have resulted in the breaking of a major case in the country or the arrest of a major person in the country?
Yes, sir. The case concerning Dana Sitahal.
Yeah.
All right. I was the officer. I was the person who was required to go into a certain neighborhood, identify 2 vehicles that were on cameras, and all them other police who were chicken, who refused to do it. I went on foot and did it, sir.
You would have got in there in disguise?
Must be in disguise, sir. It wouldn't be the same, sir.
Yeah. For all of our listeners listening, I think some may be a little confused. Now, I know the media has covered your story and said, and it indicates that you were trained as a spy by a German national. At least that's one of the newspapers reported it. But I think there may be some conflict in some listeners' minds as to, one, you're a pastor. Where did you get your security training? And how did you merge into the national security infrastructure from being a pastor to becoming a intelligence officer? More so because as a spy, you're required to be deceptive. You have to lie, I assume. Correct. Things like that. How does that fit with your pastor?
No, I like the way Morgan Job does things. Morgan Job doesn't curse publicly, at least, but he uses words. He is so skilled with words that the way he would say it, you really mightn't even know what he said. But Jesus was the same thing. He will use words in such a fashion that the point is this, he'll say to the people plainly, he says, it's you who said so. So I learned from Jesus. All right? And he is one of my Israeli counterparts.
You're saying that Dr. Job also learned from Jesus?
I'll never say that, sir.
Pastor Brown, you mentioned the police situation. How much of this information that you're divulging to the media at this time, and it's quite a bit of information based on what we're seeing in the newspapers, should be considered classified and not divulged, including your interaction with the SSA?
Okay, now like I said, they blew my cover. It's all out there. They took pictures of me. They took pictures of everything they found in my home that they found was very, very interesting for them. My house is over 3,000 square feet. It's huge, okay? You'll hear them saying he has 9 daughters. But the point is this, the Bible says, like Paul will say, you could have many teachers, but you can't have many fathers, because Paul says, I have begotten you through the gospel. And that's the context. There are guys in the church who relate to me and call me dad, and there's guys and there are girls who call me dad. That's it. Sometimes they spend time home with my wife. My wife loves to have them around, and that's the context. I have 2 biological children, 2 boys.
But are you the only person from your church or your churches that had been employed by the SSA?
No, sir. I will not lie until I'm not a liar. No. But it's not the figures that they're calling. Some people visit us. And because of some people visiting us, they are now flagged and they are going to be fired too. You can't visit a church and get fired for visiting a church. You can't visit a mosque and be fired for visiting a mosque. You can't visit a Hindu temple and be fired for visiting a Hindu temple. Something is wrong.
Was Major Best a member of your congregation?
Yes, but Major Best didn't even know who I was in the context of what I was doing prior to him visiting the church under the person who invited him, all right, was a senior person, high top ranking person in the defense force. And when he came and he realized this is about righteousness, he just stayed on for a while, and then after he realized that he would like to be a part of the church and that kind of stuff. So I have nothing to do with him training me.
Is that
So he had no knowledge of you being a part of the SSA or the police service, to your knowledge.
Okay. The point is, Major Best did not know my involvement with SORT, with Peter Joseph, Brigadier Peter Joseph, and whatever I was talking to Brigadier Francis about. Brigadier Francis was a major at the time in Special Forces. And I was doing the upgrades of the Special Forces facility as a contractor. I used to do contracts for national security. And it's through that activity, I got to know a lot of people that I could have safely given intel to, and they would verify it. And the point is this, I don't trust police. They can, even the man over 100 of them come over my house, and I can't see what some of them doing at all. I don't know if they planted bugs, if they plant weed, if they plant cocaine, because all of my family was made to stand outside in the hot sun while they were doing their mischief. Wherever I was with the officer who had a warrant, there were other police officers going around my house, through my house, every area, into my office, where I have my confidential things. I was not allowed to go there when they were searching. I don't know what it took, except I'm sure the bag with all my police uniform. Why take that and that is not any warrant? This is what the nation must ask.
Do you think there's a connection between the recent developments regarding Major Best being sent on administrative leave and the raid on your compound?
It's directly related, sir, because he was not raided. Why raid me with about 100 police and nobody comes by him? What is there about a pastor that he's so important to you guys, to all you guys, I had to say, that you need to send so many police, right, to make a big bacchanal, to expose them? Why expose me? So I can't do my job anymore? That's the point. So if you listen to listening, if I am exposed as far as they concern, I can't continue my work.
Yeah. Pastor Brown, as someone versed in intelligence, do you have cameras at your home? And I would imagine you would have had hidden cameras and even microphones.
Yes, 16 of them. And so yes, some with microphones.
So you have footage and audio of this raid?
Sir, if I say yes, they might kill me after I finish talking with you all.
Well, that wouldn't remove the footage and the audio, because I'm sure that you would not have had it stored on any normal DVR also.
You better believe I'm trained as well. Mm-hmm. And the neighbors, I got their footage as well.
Okay. So, Pastor, earlier in the conversation, you said this is the darkest time for the country, or something along that line.
That's
could
correct.
you clarify what you mean by that?
It's because the people who are righteous, that certain segment or part of SSA, are being pulled out as we speak. As we speak. Pulled out to guarantee that the rats will function with their legacy of covering who they want to cover, limit whatever comes to whoever's the commissioner of police, and SSA will be the most corrupt organization in the country.
So you see this as an attack? Yeah. You seen this as an attack on the Christian faith-based people in the police service?
No, sir. I see it as an attack against all those who are righteous. They are righteous people who are not Christians, non-Christians, who are targeted as well. It isn't just our people who may have visited church. There are people who have never even seen which party churches who are being targeted.
One of the concerns I have, Pastor Brown, is that you said you're a trained intelligence officer, right? So, and they are, I'm sure they're classified information, confidentiality clauses, NDAs in your employ as an intelligence officer working with the SSA that you've confirmed earlier on. And even if your cover is blown, which you say is the main reason why you're talking now, I would imagine there's a certain level of professionalism and ethical practice that should obtain, even if you feel your cover is blown in the interest of national security. How do you respond to people who will be saying, but you're not acting professionally, you are divulging information which could put national security at risk in one way or another?
I like a question, sir. I have pledged before my God that if the righteous are taken down and truth has fallen into the street, and the scripture says, because of that, what is going to happen to a nation, I have determined to uphold this case as well. Which means if they're taking on the righteous, I'm going to have to go to jail. It's as simple as that.
So you're prepared to be facing charges of breach of confidentiality and classified information because of your religious persuasion.
That's what I'm saying, sir. If today certain people are taken down, what I have in sealed envelopes will be unsealed by my lips so that the nation will know why crime is not being solved, why the commissioner has a difficult job in doing what she's doing, and why the director, who they have named and everything like that, has been removed. Yeah, they're going to have to jail me.
This entire incident, of course, came to the public light via the release from the office of the Prime Minister that indicated that the head of the SSA was being sent on administrative leave, that there was going to be a shakeup, and that it was a threat to national security. This is coming from the office of the Prime Minister and the National Security Council. Are you saying that the office of the Prime Minister and the National Security Council has it wrong?
I'm saying that they don't have it right. That's what I'm saying.
Now, Pastor Brown, assuming that you were as deep in the bowels of national security as you say you are or you were, how come we still have this level of crime then, if that's the case? Who else was involved in intelligence? Who else was involved in trying to make this place peaceful? If you said that you were involved in the investigation into the Dana Sital murder, we've gotten really nowhere with that. People have been charged, yes, but we don't know for sure. So why are we in the situation that we're in now? If you're going back as far as Brigadier Peter Joseph, whom I also know.
Yeah, that's before they built any building for them. They were renting out a building in El Socorro. And I used to meet the brigadier there as well. So what I'm saying is this. Let them touch one of the righteous, be it a Hindu, a Muslim, or a Christian, today as they have planned to. And the point is this. I don't have $100,000. I don't have any much more of my life in me. I'm almost 70 years. Point is this, I'm going to have to go to jail. I just got the Guillain-Barré syndrome thing on. I was paralyzed from head to foot, couldn't even talk. I'm still in a recovery mode. So those who are signed and taxed to me have been doing my job as well. But the point is this, I was determined to get back up. I fell down 10 times because fighting to get back my strength. I am serving this country. I'm living for Jesus. And I will not flinch. You see, they thought I was a softie. I'm not softie. I live for righteousness.
How many in your church are employed with the SSA?
How many, sorry?
How many other people in your church are employed with the SSA? And what are their qualifications to be employed at the SSA?
From my knowledge, like I'll say it again, I told it to the reporter, there are 5 people. 5. And they all have their degrees. They are very qualified. Masters, bachelors, extra trading, all kind of stuff. Proficient.
Were you instrumental in getting them hired because of your relationship with the organization?
They didn't even know I wasn't there.
But anyone listening, once you find it strange as a member of the public that 6 members of the same church are all employed by what is the country's highest intelligence gathering agency, 6 persons in one church, is that was strange?
Sir, let me tell it to you like this. Do you know how many people are employed by this agency? I know the exact figure. So if you hear the percentage, it's like, hello, it's so many people. I can't even give you the percentage because it's so small. All right? And the point is this, that is not surprising. Because if you have people who are righteous and people fail polygraphs like that, you might give a polygraph to 50 people and 2 alone pass only 50. That's how many liars we have in this country. And if in my assembly they found 5 people who are straight and they are qualified. What is wrong? They find Muslims who are straight and are qualified. What is wrong?
Are they still
This is
employed
not
with the
what a
SSC?
church-
Are they still employed with the SSC, or have they been terminated?
My position? Sir, no one has communicated with me since this whole fracas began. All right? Since they raided the different places that you would have heard about in the papers that was leaked out as to where the police were, and they stopped people from entering the SSA, stopped them from leaving those compounds, and the news were accurate in what they said. And for that to happen, I took a drive to verify it myself. That's my job. And when I saw the amount of police, I was shocked. And the point is this: why? Nah, man.
So you weren't there. You weren't there when they raided your home, Pastor?
Yes, sir. I was there.
So
They
what
stopped me from
drive
leaving my
did you
gate.
have to take then? What drive did you have to
drive
take
did I
to
have to
see?
take? I'm trying to understand the question still. I'm sorry.
No, you just said you took a drive and saw how many police officers were there. Isn't that what you just said?
Oh, I drove down the Port scene. I drove down the Port scene because I got information that thus and thus is happening. Now, information must be verified as proof. So that's what I do. That's my job. You don't just hear talk. You have to prove that it is really so. And that's why I took a drive from Arima to Port of Spain, and I saw it myself with my own eyes. There are pictures concerning what I saw.
What did you see down in Port of Spain?
I saw police outside of the compound and police inside of the compound with huge guns, and their whole position and this position is not as something to lock down, but lock out and lock in. So that's the first time for this particular section of national security. This has never happened before in the history of this country. Why is it that 100 pastors are cast out against a pastor, and you have so many criminals that they would even put 5 police against? This nation has...
Do you think... Okay.
I think we lost him because Steve
is not a good representation of the pastor.
No.
Steve looks actually very calm.
Yeah.
I have never seen...
Paul, one of the questions, I mean, that when you were asking him about the members of the church, it's not only just that the members of the church, but also that the SSA director head was also a member of the church.
Mm-hmm. But he said the SSA director wasn't aware that he was working with the SSA.
No, but what I'm saying, the optics of it, the SSA director is an attendee to the church, and 5 members of the church additional to the director. I mean,
what I will say is I've never seen a feed end so abruptly.
I was actually seeing people walking behind him outside the
stand. Yeah, he's outside in a car, but I've never seen a feed end so abruptly. Maybe he was taken offline.
Calm down, your conspiratorial theory.
No, I have two concerns. I have two concerns. One of the main concerns I have is that someone who claims to be a professional intelligence person trained is talking stuff that could be anathema to national security interests because he says his cover was blown. One.
Well, it has happened internationally, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, we have whistleblowers and stuff like that.
Yes.
I think that to me is anathema to a professional person who understands the implications of that one. But he said he doesn't seem to care. He's lodged 3 letters with his attorneys, and if anything happens to him, the information is going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And 2,
I don't know if Steve is trying to get back in via landline.
But he has the same.
Right now.
Yeah. And 2, that he doesn't find it strange that 6 people in the same church are employed by the country's highest intelligence gathering agency. That's not a big deal. That doesn't raise a red flag.
and the Office of the Prime Minister and the National Security Council are the ones who basically broke the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
The Office of the Prime Minister, by issuing that release that that the head of the SSC was being sent on administrative leave and administrative leave, and that it was a threat to national security.
National security.
Yes.
Those words were used.
Yeah, those are the words that were used.
All right, gentlemen, I do have Pastor back on the line via telephone.
All right.
Pastor, good morning.
Welcome back, Pastor Brown.
Right.
And they blocked my app. Nothing with my app are now working. I checked, no app is working.
So you said that they've blocked you from using your WhatsApp devices?
Yes, sir.
Can they do that?
Now,
We have the technology to do that.
do that with yours as well. Let me tell you something. Let them touch one of the righteous today. I will give you all the other links.
Pastor Brown, who is they? Who is they? Who is they that you think blocked your apps? Who is they?
Yeah,
Pastor Brown?
Yes, sir.
Who is they? You say they blocked my app. Who is they?
Well, sir, national security isn't just what you think it is in one area. And all I'm saying is, if I have to go public because they choose to uproot the righteous, be it Hindu, Muslim, or who, this man is going to talk. And then you'll realize it isn't just about the agency you all know. It's another one in the system that has more power than the one that the director was removed from. And I will...
Pastor, identify for us who are some of these other righteous people.
Identify who these righteous people? You mean,
yes, so you don't have to name all. You don't have to name all, but who are some of these other righteous people?
Who have integrity, and they do not flinch when it comes to presenting the truth and the realities as to what is happening with the crime situation in the country. And when the director has to have a brief, and the brief is presented, those types of information are not found in the briefing to the director. They do not reach the commissioner of police, and that's how we cannot fight crime the way we could fight crime in the country. Those righteous people who are trying their best and sacrificing their lives to do what is right so this country has something called peace, and it has something called a status that the whole world could know about and enjoy. We are being flagged as being a kind of a nation that doesn't know how to fight crime.
So who are some of these other righteous people? I'm assuming Major Best is a righteous person.
Yes, sir.
Who else are the righteous people in national security?
I cannot call the names now, but let them touch one of them today. You will hear their name.
How can someone posted a good question. How can the person who is in charge of the SSA not have knowledge of the people who are employed and working as intelligence gathering agents in the SSA?
No, I didn't say that he doesn't have knowledge of them. I'm saying that...
I'm talking about. Of you.
Okay, you're asking me how he doesn't have knowledge about me?
Yeah.
Since this whole fracas began with him being removed, I've never spoken to him about anything so far.
No, I'm talking you. I asked you earlier on if when he visited the church, if you knew that you were an intelligence gathering agent with the SSA, and you said no, he didn't. He wasn't aware of that.
Because it was, you see, like I said before, and the reporter who interviewed me has all the facts correctly. So there are other reporters who, like Mark and others, who are trying all kinds of stuff to present a narrative for the public to hear. They are really... I had diarrhea for 2 days that I was supposed to interact with Mr. Mark. And the point is, I took that as a sign that this diarrhea was a sign that don't interact with this man. Okay? And after I decided that my diarrhea stopped, I took that as a sign from God that this man is diarrhea. I'm telling you, plain talk.
Pastor Brown, two-part question. One,
Steve has had that issue too, you know.
You said you said that there is information that, do you think what you're divulging is going to destabilize national security in the country, or is a threat to national security? You said you don't care because you are 70 years old, but that's about you. What about the rest of the country? One, part one. And two, the information that you have contained in the letters.
So this is going to strengthen the country. For the country to rise up and say, if we really want to stop crime and to solve things and have things going the right way. It isn't going to mash up anything. It's going to join this nation.
All right. And the second part of the question. The second part of the question is, you said there's information that you've documented and is in the hands of 3 attorneys that if anything happens to you, is going to be released to the public. I'm paraphrasing here.
Correct.
If that information is so potent, why has it not been reposed with the authorities before?
So, like I said earlier on, I'm sure you were going to tell it, but firstly asking it again so that the listeners will hear it again. That boss of mine who has been named and suspended, and one other head are the only ones who know as much as I do. Okay? And they have documents to prove it. Some people got fired already who were in these positions of deception and were rats. And the rest of the rats ran to a certain minister, and the minister got involved because he has a lot to cover as well.
Who is this minister?
You're making a very, don't name any minister because you are going to put us in trouble, Wendell.
You must know what I will not say and what I will say.
Is it a church minister?
I am a church bishop. The Association of Independent Ministers, I'm a part of that grouping. We oversee 37 churches, sir. I'm a bona fide bishop.
So are you referring to somebody in the church that they ran to?
No, I'm just saying minister outside of the church is minister in the government.
Oh, so it's a government minister you're referring to?
Yes, sir. Okay. I think you really wanted to say it clearly. It's very wise.
Okay.
Now you're making some very serious allegations here.
Sir, I may die today. My brother was murdered because of what he was doing that I was doing similarly. He was a police informant and he was shot dead, 9 bullets. Okay? He never knew I was a police officer. My mother died the same year. That's 2022 I'm talking about. She never knew I was a police officer involved in anything. None of my siblings. I'm from 8 children. And Saturday, my eldest brother discovered who I was. Everything was done in the yard, and all the public was able to hear what he was saying, and he, for the first time, knew what I was. My cover is blown. Yet, because of my gigs, I could go somewhere else and people will never know that the person that they know by another name is the pastor.
What other name you went by?
Come on. Nice one. Nice one. All right.
Pastor Brown, what do you want to come out of all of this in the end? If you say you have the interest of Trinidad and Tobago at hand, what is your outcome? You hope for your outcome here?
That this nation believes that they are righteous people from all religions, all denominations, who are willing to lay down their life to do the right thing. And that we must uphold what is right and the people who stand for true righteousness. That's my objective, sir. You won't get
any argument with that on this Power Breakfast show. Even though we may not all be religious, we are all righteous people, in my opinion. We all try to do what is right. So you won't get any argument against that on this Power Breakfast show.
Pastor Brown, what you seem to be suggesting is that this entire imbroglio is part of a cover-up of some kind?
It is the biggest cover-up I've ever witnessed since I was born. The only place where things like this happen is in Russia.
What would the state of Trinidad and Tobago have to gain by covering up this? Who benefits?
Well, what they will gain is a great loss if this remains covered up. What will be to the advantage of this nation is if light begins to shine again. If the light goes out, that's it.
Now you're talking in parables, and what you're suggesting is there seems to be a cover-up of some. I know there's some things you can't say because even we will get into trouble, and I don't want us to get into trouble because you make allegations that we can't independently substantiate, right? But what you're suggesting is that someone there's an initiation of some sort of activity to cover up what seems to be wrongdoing that you're alleging. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. That's correct.
Is it on the criminal side and allowing criminals to continue? Is that what you're suggesting?
It's allowing criminals to continue who help certain people to remain in politics because of the narrative concerning the way they are supported. That's
so
a lot to
say. Political now.
But, well, sir, I'm not a politician. I'll never be a politician. I'll never, NEVER, capital letters, and not just capital letters, put it in a bold font that is huge. Never.
Have you ever supported any political party?
Of course. Ask which one and who. I'll tell you. The UNC.
You've supported the UNC?
Of course. But not the UNC per se. I supported a friend who was Mr. Reverend Roger Samuel. And the point is this. He, as a righteous person, I believe, was a good man who was in my constituency to vote for. And that's the only person I ever supported. Otherwise, I don't.
So you voted for the UNC? You voted for the UNC?
Well, what I explain now is I don't vote party. I voted for a friend who I believe was righteous, and he was supporting righteousness, and he wanted to do something for the COP. I shouldn't have even said UNC because he's COP,
he was
right?
COP. He was COP.
So I was wrong in saying UNC. I'm sorry, guys. It's the COP.
Pastor Brown, have you been invited for any interview with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service since the raid on your compound or compounds?
No, sir. Not at all.
So the police have not, and when they raided the compound, did they interrogate you in any way?
They interrogated me in extreme ways. And the most important thing that they wanted to do was to get all of my IDs and paraphernalia attached to national security, which was not just the police service. The only thing that they didn't get was my national security badge, which I couldn't find at the time. But the point is this, they took everything else pertaining to me being part of that national security.
So do you still consider yourself, given that development, to be part of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service as an SRP?
Well, no one told me I'm fired. No one called me to say I'm suspended. All right? The same way I was contacted on this phone and I answered a phone number I didn't know. All right? They could have called me and I would have answered. And the point is simple. I have 7 phones. So that's my work. I have phones for different purposes. So anybody who gets this number, they must have had somebody high up to have given them this number.
So to your knowledge, you're still employed by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service officially. Are you still working for the SSA?
So I still do my job in the context of what I am tasked to do, in the context of my remit, and I do that on a daily basis, sir.
So you continue your intelligence gathering on behalf of the SSA even after your cover has been blown?
You heard me correctly. I was doing this for free before I was given a stipend and before I was made to come in. Whenever I was made to come into SSA to be recognized as somebody, as an intelligence officer and a police officer.
How do you get that stipend, Pastor Brown? How do you get it? Do you get it paid through your account? How do you collect that stipend?
Initially, it was a check, and presently, it goes straight into my account.
Okay, so there's evidence that you are paid. There's evidence that you are paid from National Security through an account.
There's evidence that I'm paying my taxes. There's evidence that from National Security, my salary is paid into a bank account, yes.
I have
From
one
national
final
security.
question. One final question, and I don't want you to call any names. Have you, in the execution of your duties, were you called upon to gather intelligence on any politician, government,
No, sir,
opposition,
never.
or otherwise?
No, I wouldn't lie to you, sir. Never, from any side, any corner, was I ever asked to do that. Strictly as to what is happening with national security to determine why we can't solve the crimes. Police work, sir. It's police work.
Pastor Brown, my final question. In the execution of this warrant, were you detained at any point in time by the police?
No, sir. Only at the inception when I was held, pulled to the back of my vehicle, made a spread eagle, held my arms, frisked me down, then frisked me again. That is the only time I was actually apprehended, sir. And for a pastor to have all these amount of police being around him, why they can't find a criminal? It's better they send him to go and plant cassava, man. You know, or help to plant dashing somewhere. There's so much police we have free to look for a pastor and get nothing but his uniform. Nah, man. People of Trinidad, don't be fooled. They tell you plainly, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but they cannot fool all of the people all of the time. Let them touch one of those righteous people, be they Muslim, Hindu, or what, who are fighting to cause this nation to have some kind of a stability. And they do that today. That's it. I open my mouth. Let them sue me. Let them jail me. I don't have much time to live again. I'm almost 70. I was extended a grace position to function as a police officer for a couple of years. And that extension ceases in November 28th this year. And I will do it longer if they want me to do it until I drop. My wife wouldn't like what she would hear me saying with these words, but that is the truth. That is me for righteousness. That is me for Jesus, and that is me for the country.
Pastor, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Pastor Brown, for speaking with us.
And your contribution.
No problem, sir. I
Stay
hope my
safe.
app works after you finish talking.
Thank you, Pastor.
All right.
Well, your church will
All the
certainly
best
get
to you, Pastor.
very
Have a
popular
great one.
now.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
did we get from the pastor where his church is located?
It's in the papers.
It's in the papers, okay. I may have to visit that church.
Have a fantastic day, people, and for
Everybody seems stunned.
for all of the atheists out there, yes, we know you can be righteous too, and sometimes more righteous than the religious.
Notice how I couched my comment when I said that, right? We may not all be religious, but we all stand for what's right.
I don't know that we all in the world stand for what is right. I don't know that all of us stand for what is right in the world.
On the Power Breakfast Show?
On the Power Breakfast Show, you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I said. On the Power Breakfast Show.
I thought you were talking about generally.
No. True.
We'll see where this all.
I know better than that.
It's very curious, and it's a very curious story and very curious sequence of events, and he says that the Prime Minister and the National Security Council got it wrong. So this
beauty culture. I'm also speechless.
Yeah, it is an amazing.
We have to absorb this. We have to rewind it in our brains again.
You know, I'm going to be watching over this program because I wasn't planning to be part of this morning. I actually got up late, and then I saw a message from Richard. Are you joining to speak with the pastor? I said, what? What pastor? Because all of yesterday I was calling for it. I didn't know you all were going to have it. I would have been, I would have been running that studio on Paul and Steve neck if all you had interviewed this pastor and I didn't know.
Well, we did. We thought you were listening. We did tell you, Wendell, please join us. We did say that.
No, I wasn't listening at all.
Oh.
I wasn't listening at all this morning. So,
was that a threat?
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard. I would not have missed this for the world. This is going to be the most viewed program we've ever had. Trust me.
Man said there are rats in the SSC.
Yeah, that's what he said right off the start. He said that.
Yeah.
We have
a great day. Be safe.
I don't know if you all want to stick around because there are so many calls coming in. I don't know if you guys want to take a 15 minutes of calls. We make it faster.
No, I'm gone. Bye.
I actually could hold on because my son decided he's going to take himself to school this morning. So I don't have to hustle.
Have a great day. Be safe.
All right, gentlemen. Have a good one. We'll chat with you bright and early tomorrow morning. Let's get into our news. Paul, you have the news. Let's get into it.